Grace No.
Hello there, guys. Today I'm going to teach you something amazing, wonderful that you can use it to identify the needs of your patients, your customers, your clients by understanding how their brain works. You're just going through their brain, all right? Well, it's a process. It's a kind of technique that you need to develop over a period of time, and a lot of things. Don't just be an ordinary salesman behind the counter, man. You have the ability to go beyond what you are and utilize your skills and your potential to the maximum and show yourself how different you are. All right, coming to the point, what are we going to talk about today? It's about Herrmann's brain dominance instrument. Who's Herrmann? Herrmann, his full name was William Edward Herrmann, was an American researcher known for his research in creative thinking and whole brain model came out of his research. He is considered as the father of the brain dominance technology. In 1970, after his graduation from, I believe, New York University, he took up the assignment as the manager of management education at General Electric. You know General Electric, right? It's a very huge company in America, GE in short. His primary responsibility was to oversee the training program design, that is to monitor individuals' productivity, motivation, and creativity. In 1978, based on his research on individual genius, individual creativity, individual potential of a person, his thinking styles, and his learning preferences, he came out with this stable brain quadrants, which, in other words, he called it as Herrmann's brain dominance instrument, HBDI. Now, what is HBDI all about? Herrmann's brain model is a powerful tool describing the differences in information processing and thinking between individuals. There are two individuals, both the two individuals think and act, and the way they communicate, even without speaking. So there will be a communication between them. So that is what is all about HBDI. Based on the neuroscience research into how the brain actually works and accomplishes tasks, the Herrmann whole brain model is very useful in understanding about yourself and your customers whom you deal with on a day-to-day basis. The first step in reading the customer is to get some sense of how he, she thinks and processes information. While you're in sales, the more you know about the customer's thinking preferences, the more effective you will be at communicating value and changing the purchase behavior. We'll go in detail about it. I mean, it's something I'm going to give you a magic wand. You're going to wave this magic stick and make things happen. This is what HBDI is all about. But provided you use it properly. Understanding your customers' thinking preferences will help you the following ways. So, how are those ways about? Prepare effective sales proposition for your customers. Adapt your communication to have the greatest possible impact. Collaborate with your colleagues, your optometrist in your optical shop, or your fellow co- salesperson if you're in textile shop, or fellow pharmacist if you're in a pharmacy, in addressing their needs. Develop a strong relationship for a long term. And in the same way, that individuals have a right handed or left handed preference. Researchers observe that the different people have different strengths and areas of preferences in their thinking also. Some people are fact and data oriented, others are detail oriented and very meticulous in arranging things. Some see a big picture but have aversion towards too much of detail, like me, whereas others are packed with emotions and relationships, etc. So, Hermann's whole brain model helps us effectively handle customers once we understand how their brain works. So, the brain hemisphere dominance is, for example, left brain people are more organized and systematic. Right brain are more creative and intuitive. In HBDI, the brain can be divided into four quadrants, unlike the two normally we understand, the right brain and the left brain. Now we are talking about four quadrants. The upper two are cerebral in character and represent higher thinking functions. Cerebral in character, brain area which is predominantly thinking high, more of engrossed in thinking. The lower two are limbic in character and represent the mammalian brain, that is more of emotions and safety. The upper left blue, you will see the picture. The upper left blue, this area is blue, represents factual, analytical. The lower left green behind represents organized, planned, detail oriented. The upper right represents intuition, creativity, big thinking big. The lower right is red, represents emotions, relationship, and loving to meet people, social gathering, etc. So let me give you some hilarious examples. A curious child asked his mother, "Mummy, why are you some of your hairs turning gray?" The mother tried to use this occasion to teach her child, "It is because of you, dear. Every bad action of yours will turn my hair into gray." The child replied innocently, "Now I know why my grandmother has only gray hair on her head." You know, he just used that opportunity to tell his mother like what she had done. How would you categorize this child's brain dominance? Analytical, right? So it's a blue in nature, blue quadrant in nature. Here's another one. A police officer fixed a radar to flash at a speeding cars. One day the officer was amazed when everyone was under the speed limit, so he investigated and found out the problem. A 10-year-old boy was standing on the side of the road with a huge painted sign which said, "Radar trap ahead." A little more investigative work led the officer to the boy's friend, another boy about 100 yards beyond the radar trap with a sign, tips please, and a bucket full of coins. So, what do you think about these kids? Creative, yeah, how to make money. So, these kids are very yellow in nature. They belong to the yellow cat quadrant, which is on the frontal lobe of the right side. Mental preferences are all about how the whole brain and is formed and well connected within ourselves, and a little bit of access to every quarter. Not everybody has only one dominance. No, I'm totally yellow. No, it's not like that. I'm totally red. No, it's not like that. So there is a little bit of dominance and mix of dominance everywhere. But along with this massive interconnection, there is a bit of mechanism within all of us which help us to pick and choose, suggesting the right direction to go. This results in some people to go for detail and some to look for the bigger picture. Some are very emotional, while some are stone faced like me. I don't show emotions, but always keeping themselves safe and from risk. And some smart salespeople read and understand their customers' thinking preferences very well, and they adapt their messages accordingly so that they are able to match these thinking styles. We shall discuss more at length about adapting the whole brain model in our sales propositions as we go forward. So let us remember that, like we have our own thinking preferences, customers too have their own thinking preferences. Our thinking preferences influence how we see the world, communicate, make buying decisions, and sell them. There are no rights and wrongs preferences. Rather, we need to understand our strengths and adapt to the challenges. People who have similar preferences communicate best with each other. Most individuals are multi-dominant and their thinking preferences can change and expand over time. For that reason, it is a good idea to use the whole brain model with flexibility. So don't be rigid in applying that. So here are the key points. How can you identify your customer's thought process? This is the question that you will ask. Okay, please help me. How I can do that? So remember these key points very well. While communicating with the customers, you need to notice their language pattern and identify the verbal clues so that you can categorize customers' thought process. What is that they are saying from their mouth? One way of detecting what we want as thinking style of your customer belongs to is to listen to what kind of questions she is asking. For example, an experimental customer, that is on the right side in front, yellow, asks why. Why is this like that? Every time you will see this why will be very dominant. Why is that when you give me a progressive lens? Why is that when you fit me it is suede? This is happening. You might be willing to know. Why is that you're giving me a progressive lens? I'm able to adapt it very quickly, which is not happening with a bifocal lens. So, through this question he will be able to understand what's progression of the power in an optical lens. Through this question, if you are going to fit him a suede shoe, he'll be able to understand the benefits of a suede shoe. If you are selling a car, for example, while you are standing at the signal, why shouldn't you put your gear in the P rather than you should put in N? Why? So you have to answer those questions. So experimental people always ask why, and that is why when they have answers, they try to create something more out of what answers they get. Whereas rational people, which is the blue people on the left side front, they ask what. So what is ahead of this when you are going to present these figures to me? So how am I going to get the answers out of it? So it's more about what and how rather than why. And then we talk about the emotional people. The emotional people have full questions. They will ask what, they will ask how, they will ask who, but very less of why. Because they need to have more and more emotions related answers so they can connect with. And the safekeeping people ask how and when. So if somebody is not asking why, and don't you jump into a conclusion, because it takes a while for you to understand the brain dominance of a person. So immediately if somebody is asking how and when, don't judge that person saying that, oh, he's green, so he's not going to come to white, yellow. No, don't judge that. No, that is the greatest risk of this model. So in view of this, as the language of a counselor, you need to use certain words from your side. Okay, the red is relationship oriented. Okay, this is how the language works out. And this customer is in front of you, and there is a situation. So the language which comes out of you should be like, ma'am, perhaps you are wondering that this new car that I'm trying to sell to you has been used by somebody else or not. Perhaps you're wondering about my background and what is my intention. I see my role as helping you to solve your own problems. So it's about relationship. These how the words have an impact on these kind of customers. Discovering would be, people who are very yellow, they would like to experiment something through why questions, right? So your positioning of the language would be associated with discovery. Would it be alright if I ask you a few questions, sir? What are you doing right now? What do you like the best when you travel at night? How would you want it to be? Please, can you give me more information about your lifestyle? Let me see if I understand you perfectly, sir. So, what you said is that you wake up in the morning, go for a walk, and at 9 o'clock you go to the office, and you return late at night, and you travel a long distance at night, and you're always worrying about driving at night, and you have a new car, so you don't want to spoil it. Is that right? So it's more about discovering through your language. Advocating will be so, based on what you said, I would like to suggest to you, sir, here is how it works, and blah 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 blah, and here's how it will solve your problem. Here's how you might feel as a result. If it is a red person, use this. Here's how you might feel after wearing this shirt. Your situation reminds me of way back. I had a customer, and like you, he and she also told me a similar situation, and that's how I solved their problem. Safety, green. So, giving a reference. How does that seem to you? Somebody who is blue. Which of these option would you prefer? Facts, details, choice. As a language of supporting will be follow this process of learning, sharing, the LSCPA, which we use in objection handling. Learning, sharing, clarifying, presenting, advocating. So, learning will be, you seem to be upset about this. Can you please tell me more about it so that I can understand what exactly you are going through? Since you are now a counselor in supporting your customers. Supporting will be, so you feel that while you are wearing this gown, you don't feel to be very comfortable, especially when you are walking out under hot sun. Let me clarify this to you. The real question you are asking is then kind of clarification. Presenting, in this case, what we find is, okay, while you have been walking under the hot sun, this dress has been very picky, so let me give you an alternative, and this is how you are going to solve your problem. And then advocating is, should we go ahead on what we have discussed and agreed upon? Let's look at the pros and cons together and we'll solve the problem. Is that okay for you? Remember, sir, that we are in this for together and we will help each other to solve this problem. So, when it comes to Herrmann's brain model, communication acts something as an amazing tool to solve individual preferences based upon how their thinking is. Like that, I will indulge in practical sessions on this face to face very soon. Take care.